The bell over the diner door rang once, then twice. Then gunshots shattered the night outside. Naima didn't scream. She didn't run. She dragged a bleeding stranger into the back room and hid him behind bags of sugar and flour, seconds before killers stormed in, asking one question: where is the Korean man? What Naima didn't know was that the man shaking behind her wasn't a victim. He was the reason men disappeared without bodies. And by choosing kindness that night, she signed a contract with danger she could never undo. Rain hammered Chicago like it had a grudge. The Blue Lantern diner flickered weakly against the darkness, neon buzzing like a dying insect. Naima Brooks wiped the counter in slow circles, deliberate, controlled, practiced. You learn control when life teaches you that panic costs more than patience. She worked nights because nights paid better. She worked nights because dreams could wait, but rent could not. Before we continue, besties, please like and subscribe. It's the simplest way to support this channel and help these stories keep coming. We drop new, emotionally gripping stories every day just for you. And don't forget to comment where you're watching from and what time it is there. I'd love to see how far this story of love and destiny has reached. At 2:17 a.m., the door swung open hard enough to rattle the glass. The man who stumbled inside didn't belong. His suit was too clean, even soaked through. His shoes cost more than her monthly paycheck. His posture, despite the blood spreading across his white shirt, was straight. Military, straight. Then his knees buckled. He hit the tile hard. Blood pooled beneath him, dark and spreading fast. Naima's body moved before her brain caught up. She dropped the rag and knelt beside him, pressing her apron against the wound on his side. His eyes opened, dark, sharp, calculating even through pain. "Help is coming," she said automatically. His hand shot up and gripped her wrist. Not violent, desperate. No police. Outside, tires screamed against wet asphalt. Voices shouted in a language she didn't understand. Korean, maybe. Angry. Coordinated. The man's grip tightened. "Please." Something in his voice wasn't begging. It was commanding. Like he was used to people obeying without question. Naima looked at the door, looked at the blood, looked at him. This was the moment smart people walk away. She grabbed him under the arms and dragged him through the swinging kitchen doors. He was heavier than he looked, solid muscle beneath expensive fabric. She shoved him behind the industrial shelves stacked with 50-pound bags of sugar and flour, threw a tarp over him, and kicked his blood trail under a prep table. The diner door slammed open. 3 men entered. Black coats, empty smiles, guns worn like jewelry. Naima stepped back into the dining area, heart hammering so loud she thought they'd hear it. She grabbed her rag and started wiping the counter again. Slow, circles, controlled, practiced. The leader walked toward her. His smile never reached his eyes. "We're looking for someone," he said in perfect English. "Korean man. Bleeding. You see him?" Naima met his stare without flinching. She'd survived worse men than these. Different kinds of monsters maybe, but monsters all the same. Nobody like that been here. He studied her face. Seconds stretched. Somewhere far away, sirens wailed. The man's smile widened. He leaned close enough she could smell cigarettes and expensive cologne. "If you're lying," he whispered, "we'll know." Then they left. The bell rang once as the door closed. Naima waited. 10 seconds. 20. Her hands shook so hard she had to grip the counter to steady them. Behind her, fabric rustled. The stranger stepped out from hiding, blood still seeping through his shirt. Even wounded, he stood like royalty. "You shouldn't have done that," he said quietly. She turned on him, anger replacing fear. "You're alive. Say thank you." He studied her with those sharp, calculating eyes. Then he spoke 4 words that changed everything. "My name is Seojin Kwon." The name meant nothing to Naima. In the Korean underworld, it meant fear itself. Who was this man that trained killers hunted him like prey? And why did they look afraid when they said his name? Naima pressed a clean towel against Seojin's wound. He didn't flinch, didn't make a sound. Men who survived what he survived learned to swallow pain like water. "You need a hospital?" she said. "No hospitals." His voice was steady despite the blood. "Hospitals keep records. Records become targets. Then you need to leave before those men come back." He shook his head slowly. "If I leave now, they'll assume you helped me. They'll come back and ask questions in ways you won't survive." Fear turned her stomach cold. "So what? You're just gonna bleed out in my storage room?" "I have people coming, but not for another hour." He met her eyes. "I'm sorry you're involved. Sorry doesn't pay rent when this place gets shot up." Something flickered across his face, almost like respect. "You're angry. Good. Fear makes people sloppy. Anger keeps them sharp." Naima grabbed the first aid kit from under the sink and knelt beside him. She'd patched up her younger brother enough times to know the basics. The wound was deep but clean. A knife, not a bullet. "Who were those men?" she asked, threading a needle. "Former associates who think I'm weak." He watched her hands without flinching as she cleaned the wound. "They're wrong. You don't look weak. You look expensive. Like mob movie expensive." His mouth twitched, not quite a smile. "Something like that." She pressed the needle to his skin. "This is gonna hurt." "Everything hurts eventually." His eyes stayed locked on hers. "Pain is just information." Naima stitched in silence. Outside, rain continued hammering the roof. Inside, fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. Every car that passed made her flinch. "Why'd you tell me your name?" she asked quietly. "If you're so worried about records and targets." "Because you deserve to know who you saved." He paused. "And because if they come back asking questions, my name might be the only thing that keeps you breathing." "Your name scares people that much?" "Some names carry weight." He looked away. "Mine carries consequences." She tied off the stitches and sat back on her heels. "You talk like someone who's used to giving orders." "I am." "And people just obey?" "Usually." His gaze returned to her. "You didn't." "I don't obey men with guns. Already learned that lesson." Seojin studied her face like he was reading a contract. "What's your name?" "Naima Brooks." "Naima." He said it carefully, like he was memorizing it. "Thank you." "Don't thank me yet. We might both be dead in an hour. If we die, it won't be in an hour." He pulled a phone from his jacket, cracked screen, but still working. "They'll wait until morning. Daylight makes bodies easier. To clean up." Her stomach twisted. "You say that like you know from experience." "I do." Before she could respond, headlights swept across the front windows. A black SUV rolled past slowly, too slowly. They both froze. The vehicle circled the block once, twice, then parked across the street, engine idling. Seojin's jaw tightened. "That's not my people." "Then who?" "Someone patient." He tried to stand, winced, stayed down. "Someone who knows I'm wounded and waiting for backup." Naima's pulse hammered in her ears. "So what do we do?" "We wait and hope my men arrive first." He looked at her with something close to regret. "You should have let me die." "Maybe." She moved to the window, staying in shadow. "But I didn't." The SUV's headlights cut through the rain like searchlights. Inside, she could see shadows moving, counting heads, planning entry points. Seojin spoke quietly behind her. "Naima." "Yeah?" "When they come through that door, stay behind me." "You can barely stand." "I've fought worse odds bleeding worse than this." But could a wounded man really protect her from killers patient enough to wait? And why did his voice sound less like reassurance and more like goodbye? The back door exploded inward. Wood splintered. Metal shrieked. 3 men poured through the opening like water through a dam break. Seojin moved before Naima could breathe. He shoved her behind the industrial freezer and stepped into the open, blood still seeping through his makeshift bandage. His hands hung loose at his sides. Relaxed. Ready. The first man raised his gun. Seojin was faster. He closed the distance in 2 steps, redirected the weapon with one hand, drove his palm into the man's throat with the other. The gunman dropped, gasping, choking on his own crushed windpipe. The second man fired. The bullet punched through a bag of flour. White powder exploded into the air like a smoke bomb. Seojin disappeared into the cloud. Naima pressed her back against cold steel, heart slamming against her ribs. Gunfire. Grunts. The wet sound of impact. Then silence. When the flour settled, 2 men lay on the ground. Not moving. Not breathing. The third man ran. Seojin stood in the center of the carnage, breathing steady despite the fresh blood soaking through his shirt. His eyes tracked the fleeing figure through the shattered door, calculating, measuring. Then he turned to Naima. "Are you hurt?" She couldn't speak, couldn't process what she'd just witnessed. The man who could barely stand 5 minutes ago had just dismantled 3 armed killers like they were children. "Naima," his voice sharpened. "Are you injured?" "No." The word came out hoarse. "What are you?" "Alive." He moved to the door, checked the alley, came back. "Because of you." Sirens wailed closer now, real close, maybe 2 blocks away. Seojin pulled a card from his jacket and pressed it into her palm. Black, embossed with a symbol she didn't recognize, a lotus flower wrapped in thorns. "If you need to disappear," he said quietly, "call this number. Someone will answer. They'll ask for a passphrase. Tell them, the lantern still burns. I don't want to disappear. I want my life back. Your life changed the moment you opened that door." He looked at the bodies, at the blood, at her. These men have friends, families, organizations. They'll want answers. So give them answers. Tell them you were here. If I do that, you become leverage. His jaw tightened. Leverage gets used, broken, buried. Fear and anger twisted together in her chest. So, I'm just supposed to what? Hide? Run? You're supposed to survive. He moved toward the front door, each step controlled despite his injury. "The card stays between us. Don't show it to police. Don't tell anyone you have it." "Why would I even need it?" He paused at the threshold, rain-soaked wind cutting through the diner. "Because the man who ran is named Junho. He's patient, methodical, and he never forgets a face. You know him? He was my lieutenant once." Something cold flickered in Seojin's eyes. "Before he decided I was worth more dead than loyal." Black SUVs rolled up outside, different from before. Cleaner. Organized. Men in dark suits emerged, moving with military precision. One opened the rear door. Seojin looked back at Naima one last time. "Thank you for the kindness. I'll make sure it doesn't cost you everything." Then he was gone. The police arrived 3 minutes later. Naima told them the truth. Mostly. Armed men broke in. She hid. They fought each other. She didn't see faces clearly, couldn't identify anyone, couldn't explain the bodies. The detective didn't believe her, but he couldn't prove otherwise. They left at dawn. Told her to call if she remembered anything useful. Gave her a card that felt heavy as a threat. Naima locked the diner doors and stood in the wreckage. Flour dust coated everything. Blood stained the tile. Bullet holes punctured the walls. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. The message was simple. "The debt is paid, stay safe." She deleted it immediately, but in her pocket, the black card with the lotus and thorns felt like it was burning through fabric. Could she really go back to normal when normal no longer existed? And why did safety from one monster feel like an invitation from another? 3 days passed without incident. Then Naima's landlord showed up with rage in his eyes and lies in his mouth. "You're 2 months behind," Marcus Tibbs shouted across the diner, spit flying with each word. 2 months, Naima. I want my money or you're out. She kept her voice level. I paid you. Cashier's check. First of every month like always. Prove it. You cashed the checks. That's your proof. Marcus stepped closer, invading her space with cheap cologne and cheaper threats. I got no record of any checks, so either you pay up by Friday or I'm changing the locks. Naima's hands curled into fists. She'd dealt with men like Marcus before, small men who felt big, when they had power over women alone. She'd paid him, had receipts at home to prove it. But receipts didn't matter when landlords lied and tenants had no leverage. I'll bring the documentation, she said quietly. Tomorrow morning. You do that. Marcus turned to leave, then stopped, smiled. And Naima? Bring cash this time. I don't trust your checks no more. The door opened before he reached it. A man stepped inside. Expensive suit, empty smile. The same killer from 3 nights ago. Junho. Naima's blood turned to ice. Marcus looked between them, confused. You know this guy? We've met. Junho's smile widened. Haven't we, Naima? Every instinct screamed run, but running confirmed guilt, so she stood her ground and lied with her whole chest. Never seen him before in my life. Junho walked past Marcus like he didn't exist and stopped 2 feet from Naima. Close enough she could see the scar on his neck, close enough to grab her if he wanted. You have something that belongs to my organization, he said softly. I'd like it back. I don't know what you're talking about. The Korean man who bled on your floor. Where did he go? Marcus backed toward the door. Look, I don't want no trouble. I'm just here about rent. Junho didn't look at him. Leave. Marcus left. The door closed. The lock clicked. Junho's smile never faltered. I'm going to ask you one more time, he said. Where is Seojin Kwan? I don't know anyone by that name. You're a terrible liar. He reached into his jacket. Naima grabbed the coffee pot from the warmer, still hot, still full, and swung it at his face. Junho dodged, but not fast enough. Scalding liquid splashed across his shoulder. He hissed, stumbled back. Naima ran for the kitchen, for the back door, for anywhere that wasn't here. She made it 3 steps before strong hands grabbed her shoulders and slammed her against the wall. Air exploded from her lungs. Stars burst behind her eyes. Junho's face was inches from hers now. The smile was gone. Seojin didn't save you, he whispered. He cursed you. Then the front window shattered. Black SUVs surrounded the diner. Doors opened. Men stepped out. Not killers this time. Soldiers. Disciplined. Armed. Organized like a military unit. And then Seojin emerged. Clean suit. Pressed shirt. No blood. No injury. He looked like power wore expensive fabric and walked on 2 legs. Junho's grip loosened. Seojin stepped through the broken window, glass crunching under Italian leather shoes. He didn't look at Naima. Didn't look at Junho. He looked at the space between them like he was calculating distance and damage. Let her go. His voice was quiet, controlled, absolute. Junho released Naima and stepped back, hands raised. I wasn't going to hurt her. Yes, you were. She attacked me because you threatened her. Seojin moved closer, each step deliberate, in her place of business, alone, without witnesses. Junho's confidence cracked. I was just asking questions. You were establishing dominance. Seojin stopped 3 feet away. On someone under my protection. The words hit the air like a judge's gavel. Junho went pale. You claimed her? I'm claiming nothing. Seojin's gaze finally shifted to Naima. Something in his eyes looked almost apologetic. I'm stating fact. This woman saved my life. That creates obligation. Debt. Consequences. For who? Junho asked carefully. For anyone who forgets that mercy deserves protection. Seojin turned back to him. You have 5 seconds to leave Chicago. If you're still here in 6, my men will help you relocate. Permanently. Junho looked at Naima, at Seojin, at the armed men outside. He nodded once and walked out the door without another word. Silence filled the diner. Seojin approached Naima slowly, like she might run. Are you hurt? No. Her voice shook. What just happened? I kept my promise. What promise? That kindness wouldn't cost you everything. He gestured to the broken window. I'll have this repaired, and your landlord won't be bothering you anymore. His accounts have been reviewed. Turns out he's been stealing from multiple tenants. The authorities will be informed. Naima pressed her back against the wall, trying to process. You can do that? Just make problems disappear? When necessary. And what does that make me? Your charity case? Something flickered across his face. Respect, maybe, or recognition. It makes you someone who chose compassion when violence was easier. That's rare, worth protecting. I don't need protection. I need my life back. Your life is still yours. He pulled a phone from his pocket and made a call. Spoke rapidly in Korean, hung up. But the world now knows you're connected to me. That changes things, creates enemies, opportunities, danger. I didn't ask for any of this. I know. He looked at her with something close to regret. But you have it anyway. One of his men approached, spoke quietly in his ear. Seojin nodded and turned back to Naima. I have to leave, but my people will watch this place. You won't see them, but they'll be there. If anyone threatens you, they'll intervene. And if I don't want them watching, then tell me now, and I'll pull them back. His eyes held hers. But Junho isn't the only one who knows your face. Others will come. Test boundaries. Push limits. That's how this world works. Naima looked at the shattered window, at the coffee stains on the floor, at the man who'd turned her quiet life into a battlefield she never enlisted for. What do I call you? She asked quietly. When danger shows up and I need help I didn't want? Seojin. He handed her a different card, this one with a direct number. Use it when words aren't enough. Then he left. SUVs pulled away. Glass crunched under tires. The morning sun cut through the broken window, painting everything in sharp, unforgiving light. Naima stood alone in her diner, holding a phone number that felt like both shield and shackles. Protection sounded safe until she realized it came with a price tag written in blood. But was the cost of accepting help higher than the cost of refusing it? The diner felt different after Seojin left. Quieter. Heavier. Like the walls remembered violence and couldn't forget. Naima swept glass for the third time that morning. Each shard caught the light differently, some clear, some stained with coffee, some edged with blood she couldn't quite scrub away. A construction crew arrived at noon, didn't ask questions, didn't request payment, just measured the window, removed the frame, installed new glass, and disappeared within 2 hours. When they left, the window looked better than before. Cleaner. Stronger. Like it had never been shattered at all. But Naima still saw cracks. She tried working her evening shift like nothing changed. Served coffee to regulars who complained about traffic. Flipped burgers for teenagers who didn't tip. Smiled at customers who never looked up from their phones. Normal. Ordinary. Safe. Except every time the door opened, her hand moved toward the knife in her apron pocket. Every time headlights swept past outside, her pulse jumped. Every shadow looked like Junho. Every stranger felt like a threat. At midnight, she locked the doors and walked 3 blocks to her apartment. Checked over her shoulder twice per block. Took the long route past the 24-hour bodega where light and witnesses existed. Her building was quiet. Too quiet. She climbed the stairs to the 3rd floor, keys ready, phone in hand with 911 pre-dialed just in case. Her door was locked, untouched, exactly as she'd left it. Inside, everything was wrong. Not damaged, not stolen, just different. The window was closed. She always left it cracked for air. Her mail sat in a neat stack on the kitchen counter. She'd left it scattered on the table. Her coffee mug had been washed and placed in the drying rack. She'd left it in the sink. Someone had been here. Someone careful. Someone who wanted her to know they could enter whenever they wanted. Naima's hands shook as she checked the closets, the bathroom under the bed. Empty. All empty. But on her pillow sat a single white card with embossed text, "You are protected." No signature, no number, just a statement that felt more like surveillance than safety. She grabbed her phone, stared at the number Seojin had given her, thought about calling, demanding answers, demanding privacy, demanding her life back. Instead, she deleted the contact and threw the card in the trash. Then she dragged a chair under the doorknob, checked the window locks 3 times, and sat on her bed with the lights on until sunrise. She didn't sleep. Couldn't sleep. Every creak in the hallway sounded like footsteps. Every car outside sounded like SUVs. Every breath felt like borrowed time. At 6 a.m., her phone buzzed. Unknown number. Again. The message was simple. "The chair won't stop them, but we will." She stared at the screen. The words that proved someone was always watching, always knowing, always there whether she wanted them or not. Naima typed back, "Leave me alone." The response came immediately. "When you're truly alone is when you should worry." She threw the phone across the room. It hit the wall and clattered to the floor, screen cracked but still glowing. That morning, she called in sick to work for the first time in 2 years. Spent the day looking for new apartments she couldn't afford. Researched how to disappear legally. Googled how to escape organized crime protection. Every search led to the same answer. You don't. By evening, reality settled in her chest like concrete. Seojin hadn't saved her. He'd claimed her, marked her, turned her into property protected by violence and surveillance she never consented to. And the worst part? She was safer now than she'd ever been. Her landlord stopped harassing her. Marcus actually apologized the next day, stammering about clerical errors and misunderstandings. Said her rent was paid through the year. Gave her his personal cell in case she needed anything. Anything at all. Men who used to catcall her on the street now crossed to the other sidewalk. Eyes that used to linger too long now looked away. The neighborhood suddenly treated her like she mattered, like she was connected, like touching her meant consequences. She hated it, hated how safe felt like a cage, hated how protection tasted like poison, hated that the card she threw away still sat in her mind, memorized, ready. 3 days after Junho, Naima returned to work, served coffee, flipped burgers, smiled at customers, pretended everything was fine. But when she wiped down tables, she noticed the man in the corner booth. Different face. Same energy. Watching. Waiting. Protecting. She didn't acknowledge him. Didn't thank him. Didn't do anything except exist in the space between freedom and safety that Seojin had carved out without permission. That night, walking, home, she felt eyes on her back. Not threatening, just present. Shadows that moved when she moved, distance that maintained itself precisely. And on her pillow when she got home, another card. This one had a different message. Safety is not a gift. It's a choice. Make yours. Naima crumpled the card and threw it away. But this time she didn't delete Seojin's number. Protection felt like prison until danger reminded her why cages exist. But could she live in a gilded box built by hands stained with blood? Or was freedom worth dying for? Marcus showed up at the diner Tuesday morning with flowers and fear in his eyes. Look, Naima, I'm real sorry about last week. He set the bouquet on the counter like an offering to an angry god. I got my records confused. You're paid up. Way up. I'm actually refunding you for the overcharge. He slid an envelope across the counter. Fat with bills. Naima didn't touch it. What changed, Marcus? I made a mistake. Simple as that. You called? Me a liar 3 days ago. Now I'm getting refunds? Marcus wouldn't meet her eyes. Sometimes I get my paperwork mixed up. It happens. No, it doesn't. She pushed the envelope back. Someone got to you. Nobody got to me. His voice cracked. I'm just trying to make things right. Marcus, look at me. He did, reluctantly. Who scared you? Nobody scared me. But sweat beaded on his forehead despite the air conditioning. I got a call. From some investors. Said they were interested in the building. Asked about tenant satisfaction. Quality of management. That kind of thing. What kind of investors? The kind you don't ask questions about. He backed toward the door. Just take the money, Naima. And if you need anything at all, you call me first. Not the cops, not maintenance. Me. He left before she could respond. The envelope sat on the counter. Naima counted it. $3,000. More than Marcus would voluntarily refund in a lifetime. She put it in the register and tried not to think about what kind of phone call makes a greedy landlord generous. The lunch rush came and went. Regulars ordered the usual. Teenagers complained about homework. Life continued in the ordinary way life does when nobody knows you're drowning in consequences you didn't choose. At 2 p.m., the diner door opened. Junho walked in. Every muscle in Naima's body locked. Fear flooded her system, cold and paralyzing. He wasn't alone this time. 2 men flanked him, bigger, quieter, armed underneath tailored jackets that didn't quite hide the bulges. But Junho wasn't smiling anymore. His face was blank, professional, the kind of blank that meant business, not pleasure. He sat at the counter, gestured for his men to take a booth by the window. Naima stayed behind the register, hand near the panic button one of Seojin's men had installed last week. One press and help would arrive in under 90 seconds. Maybe. Coffee, Junho said quietly. Black. She poured it, with shaking hands, set the cup down carefully, stepped back. He didn't drink it, just wrapped his hands around the ceramic like he needed the warmth. I'm not here to hurt you, he said every man who ever did. His jaw tightened. Seojin thinks you're innocent. He thinks you're some kind of moral compass in an immoral world, that protecting you means something. And you don't? I think you're a weakness. He finally looked up. A vulnerability. A pressure point. You're the one thing that makes him hesitate, that makes him human. And humans make mistakes. Naima's heart hammered so loud she thought everyone could hear it. Why are you telling me this? Because I want you to understand what you've become. He pushed the coffee away untouched. You're not his charity case. You're his Achilles heel. And in my world, weaknesses get exploited, tested, destroyed. Then why aren't you destroying me now? Because Seojin would burn Chicago to ash if I touched you. Something like, respect flickered in his eyes, he's claimed you publicly. That means you're untouchable. Sacred. Protected by more than just bodyguards. Protected by reputation. By fear. By the understanding that harming you means war. So I'm safe. No. Junho stood. Dropped a 50 on the counter for coffee he didn't drink. You're valuable. There's a difference. He walked toward the door. His men followed. At the threshold, he paused. One more thing, Naima Brooks. When the next person comes for you, and someone will, don't assume Seojin's protection is absolute. Protection only works when the protector knows you're in danger. And some threats are quieter than gunfire. Then they were gone. Naima stood frozen behind the counter, Junho's words echoing in her mind. The man in the corner booth, Seojin's watcher, stood and followed them outside. 2 minutes later, her phone buzzed. Unknown number. Junho has been escorted to the airport. He won't return. She stared at the message, at the proof that someone always watched, always knew, always intervened before she even asked for help. The $50 bill sat on the counter. She picked it up. Underneath was a handwritten note in Junho's sharp script. You saved a monster. Now you live with monsters. Choose carefully which one you trust. Naima crumpled the note and threw it away, but the words stayed, burned into her brain like a brand she couldn't remove. That night, she locked the diner early, walked home, checked her apartment, found nothing disturbed, no cards, no messages, no signs of intrusion, just silence, heavy, suffocating, lonely. She sat on her bed and stared at her phone, at the number she hadn't deleted, at the choice she'd been avoiding since the night she dragged a bleeding stranger away from death. Her thumb hovered over the call button. Outside, car doors closed, engines started. Shadows moved with purpose and precision. She was never alone, never unprotected, never free, but she was alive. And alive meant choices still existed. Junho warned her that protection has limits. But what happens when those limits get tested? And when monsters promise safety, who protects you from your protectors? Subscribe now and turn on notifications so you never miss what happens when Naima finally makes her choice. The choice between freedom and survival, between isolation and protection, between the woman she was and the woman she's becoming. Drop a comment below and tell us, would you accept protection from someone dangerous? Share your thoughts and inspire others who might be facing impossible decisions. These stories matter because your voice matters. Black SUVs rolled up like a storm nobody ordered. Naima was closing the register when headlights flooded the diner. 4 vehicles, maybe 5. Doors opened in synchronized precision. Men stepped out wearing suits that cost more than her monthly rent. Then Seojin emerged from the center vehicle. He looked different, cleaner, sharper, like the wounded man from a week ago had been replaced by someone born wearing power like a second skin. He walked through the door without knocking, without asking, like he owned the building and everything inside it. His eyes found hers immediately. We need to talk. Behind him, his men formed a perimeter outside. Professional, disciplined. The kind of presence that made pedestrians cross the street without knowing why. Naima stayed behind the counter, anger rising in her chest. You can't just show up here like this. I can. And I did. He gestured to a booth. Please, sit. This is my place. I don't take orders here. Something flickered across his face. Not anger. Respect, maybe. Then I'll ask instead of command. Will you sit with me? She wanted to refuse, wanted to throw him out, wanted to scream that she never asked for protection, or surveillance, or men in expensive suits treating her diner like a war room. But curiosity won. It always did. She sat. Seojin folded his hands on the table. Junho came here yesterday. How did you... She stopped. Of course he knew. Your watchers told you. They did their job. Keeping you alive is their only priority. I didn't ask for that. You didn't have to. He leaned forward slightly. When you saved my life, you created a bond. In my world, bonds mean obligations, debts, consequences that don't disappear because they're inconvenient. So I'm just stuck? Forever watched? Forever protected whether I want it or not? You're stuck being visible. His voice softened. That's the cost of kindness to dangerous men. Visibility attracts attention. Attention creates enemies. Enemies require protection. Naima's hands curled into fists on the table. And if I say no, if I tell you to take your men and your protection and leave me alone, then I will. He met her eyes without flinching. But you need to understand what that means. My enemies know your face now. They know you matter to me. If I pull protection, they'll test. Whether I meant it. They'll hurt you to prove I'm weak. To prove loyalty can be broken. So I'm leverage. Yes, at least he was honest. Naima looked out the window at the men standing guard. At the SUVs that probably cost more than her entire building. At the world Seojin inhabited where violence was currency and protection was purchase price. What do you want from me? She asked quietly. Nothing. The answer came quick, certain. I want nothing except to ensure the woman who saved my life doesn't die because of that choice. Everyone wants something. Not from you. He paused. You gave freely when you could have walked away. That's rare. Maybe unique. I'm not here to corrupt that. I'm here to preserve it. By making me a prisoner in my own life? By keeping you breathing long enough to live it. He stood, pulled an envelope from his jacket and set it on the table. This is the deed to your diner. Paid in full. No strings, no ownership, just a gift for services rendered. Naima stared at the envelope like it might explode. I can't accept this. You already have. The transfer was completed this morning. He moved toward the door. You're not my property, Naima Brooks. You're not my employee. You're not under contract or obligation. You're simply someone I owe, and I pay my debts. What if I don't want the diner? Then sell it, keep it, burn it down. The choice is yours. He paused at the threshold. But understand that ownership comes with protection. This building is now connected to my interests, which means anyone threatening it threatens me. You're boxing me in. I'm giving you options you didn't have before. His eyes held hers across the distance. You can hate me for it. Most people do, but you'll be alive to hate me safely. That's worth something. One of his men approached and spoke quietly in Korean. Seojin nodded and turned back to Naima one last time. There's a banquet tomorrow night. High profile, dangerous people pretending to be. Civilized. He pulled a card from his pocket. You're invited. Not as my date, not as my guest, as my equal. Someone I respect enough to introduce to my world honestly. Why would I want to meet dangerous people? Because refusing to see danger doesn't make it disappear. It just makes you blind when it arrives. He set the invitation on the counter. The choice is yours. It always has been. Then he left. SUVs pulled away. Silence returned. Naima sat alone with an envelope that changed everything and an invitation that terrified her. Outside, the watcher in the corner coffee shop raised his cup in a subtle salute. Still there. Still watching. Still protecting whether she wanted it or not. She opened the envelope. Inside was the deed. Her name on official documents. Ownership transferred without her signature. Power given without permission. And underneath the deed was a handwritten note in Seojin's precise script. You saved a monster. Now the monster protects you. Fair trade. Power arrived wrapped in gifts she never asked for, but was accepting generosity from dangerous hands the same as accepting danger itself? And could she really attend a banquet in a world where dinner conversations might end in bloodshed? The dress arrived at her apartment Tuesday morning. Naima didn't order it, didn't request it, just found a garment bag hanging on her door with a note. For tomorrow. No obligation, just possibility. She almost threw it away. Almost called Seojin and told him to stop trying to dress her like a doll. Almost burned the whole thing on principle. Instead, she opened the bag. The dress was as midnight blue. Simple. Elegant. Nothing flashy or revealing. Just quality fabric cut by someone who understood bodies and beauty without objectifying either. It fit perfectly. Of course it did. She stood in front of her bathroom mirror wearing a dress that cost more than 3 months' rent and tried to recognize herself. The woman staring back looked confident, powerful, like she belonged in rooms where decisions got made and consequences got distributed. It was terrifying. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number, always unknown. The car arrives at 7 p.m. You're not required to attend, but you're welcome if you choose. Naima typed back, "Stop watching me." The response came immediately. "We watch threats, not you. There's a difference." She threw the phone on her bed and paced her small apartment. Back and forth. Back and forth. Wearing a dress she didn't buy to attend an event she didn't want at the invitation of a man who'd turned her life into surveillance theater. But curiosity burned. It always did. What did Seojin's world actually look like? Who were these dangerous people pretending to be civilized, and why did he want her there at all? At 6:45 p.m., she made her decision. She put on the dress, applied minimal makeup, wore her regular shoes because she refused to let him control everything. Then she waited by the window, heart hammering, second-guessing every choice. At 7 p.m. exactly, a black sedan pulled up. Not an SUV, not a convoy, just one car with a professional driver who opened the door without speaking. Naima got in before fear could change her mind. The banquet was held at the Apex, a hotel so expensive even looking at it felt like trespassing. Crystal chandeliers, marble floors, staff who moved like choreographed dancers. Seojin waited in the lobby. Different suit, same presence. He saw her, and something in his expression shifted. Surprise, maybe. Or appreciation. You came. I'm curious, she kept her voice level. Doesn't mean I'm comfortable. Comfort is overrated, he offered his arm. Shall we? She ignored the arm and walked beside him instead. Equal, not accessory. He smiled slightly. I expected nothing less. The ballroom was filled with people who looked like they owned cities. Men in suits, sharp enough to cut. Women in dresses that cost more than cars. Conversations conducted in multiple languages with smiles that never reached eyes. Seojin guided her through the crowd, introducing her simply. This is Naima Brooks. She's under my protection. Every introduction got the same reaction. Eyes widening. Posture straightening. Immediate respect mixed with careful curiosity. Being introduced as protected was apparently more powerful than being introduced as partner. Naima hated it. Why are you doing this? She whispered between introductions. Parading me around like some kind of statement? Because statements matter. He led her to a quieter corner. Every person in this room is evaluating whether my protection is worth respecting. Seeing you here, confident, defiant, unafraid, proves that my word carries weight, that promises aren't empty. So, I'm a prop. You're proof, he caught her gaze. Proof that mercy exists even in violent worlds. Proof that kindness doesn't always get punished. Proof that I keep my commitments. What if I don't want to be proof of anything? Then you walk out that door and never see me again. His voice was quiet, honest. But understand what you're walking into. These people now know you exist, know you matter. That information doesn't disappear. It spreads, becomes currency, gets traded in conversations you'll never hear. Fear and anger twisted together in her chest. You made me a target by bringing me here. You became a target the moment you opened your diner door. He leaned closer. I'm just making sure everyone knows the target is protected. There's a difference between being hunted and being respected. Tonight ensures the latter. By putting me on display. By showing them you're not afraid. His eyes held hers. And you're not. I see it. They see it. That courage is more valuable than any weapon I carry. Before she could respond, a woman approached. Tall, elegant, wearing confidence like armor. Seojin. Her accent was Korean, her English perfect. Introduce me to your guest. Minister Yoon. This is Naima Brooks. He gestured formally. Naima. Minister Yoon oversees certain diplomatic relations between Chicago and Seoul. The minister's eyes evaluated Naima like a contract being reviewed. The woman who saved your life. Yes. Interesting. Minister Yoon smiled. And now you parade her at formal events, making statements, creating obligations. Creating clarity, Seojin corrected. So there's no confusion about commitments. Confusion is what keeps diplomacy functional. The minister turned to Naima. Do you understand what you've become, Ms. Brooks? A complication, Naima said before she could stop herself. Minister Yoon laughed, actually laughed. Honest, how refreshing. She looked at Seojin. I like her. Don't let her get killed. Then she walked away. Seojin exhaled slowly. That went better than expected. Better how? She basically said, I'm going to die. She acknowledged your existence. In this world, acknowledgement is the first step to legitimacy. He guided her toward the exit. Come, you've been seen. Statement made. No need to linger. Outside, the night air felt like freedom after suffocation. Naima leaned against the building, trying to process everything. Why me? She asked quietly. Of all the people you could protect, why make me the face of your mercy? Seojin was quiet for a long moment. Then, because you didn't hesitate, didn't calculate, didn't weigh consequences before acting. That kind of instant compassion is rare. Worth protecting. Worth proving exists. Even if it costs me everything, nothing worth having is free. He looked at her with something close to regret. I wish I could give you safety without visibility, protection without price. But that's not how my world works. Survival requires sacrifice. Always. The car pulled up. Driver waiting. Escape available. Naima looked at Seojin, at the man who'd turned her simple act of kindness into complicated consequences she'd spend years untangling. I don't want to be proof, she said. I just want to be me. Then be you. His voice was gentle. But be you alive. Everything else is negotiable. Minister Yoon's warning echoed in her mind. Don't let her get killed. But how do you survive being proof of someone else's humanity when humanity in violent worlds is the first thing sacrificed? Naima didn't sleep that night. She lay in bed staring at her ceiling, replaying conversations, analyzing reactions, trying to understand the game she'd been drafted into without consent. At 3 a.m., her phone buzzed. Not unknown this time. Seojin's direct number. Can't sleep either? She debated not responding, debated throwing the phone away, debated burning every bridge before bridges became chains. Instead, she typed, "Why are you awake?" Thinking about consequences. Whose? Everyone's. She sat up, exhaustion making her honest. I didn't ask for this life. I know. I don't want to be protected like property. I know that too. Then why won't you let me go? His response took longer this time. When it came, it was voice instead of text. His actual voice. Tired. Human. Because letting you go means letting you die. And I've caused enough death without adding yours to the list. Naima held the phone, heart aching for reasons she couldn't explain. You can't save everyone. No, but I can save you. He paused. If you'll let me. What does that even mean? Letting you save me? It means accepting that safety sometimes comes from unexpected places, that protection doesn't always mean control, that maybe, just maybe, I'm trying to do one good thing in a life full of terrible ones. She closed her eyes. I'm tired, Seojin. Tired of being watched. Tired of being valuable. Tired of decisions made for me. Then make your own decisions. His voice was quiet, careful. Tell me what you need, what boundaries you want, what feels like prison versus what feels like safety. I'll adjust. You'll adjust? Skepticism sharpened her words. Just like that? Just like that. I don't believe you. Then test me. The challenge was gentle. Tell me one thing you need changed. Watch me change it. Naima thought about the watchers, the surveillance, the constant presence of men in shadows. I want to walk to work alone. No guards, no protection detail, just me and the sidewalk. Silence on the other end. Long enough she thought he'd hung up. Then, done. Starting tomorrow morning, you walk alone. Just like that? Just like that, he sighed. But understand the risk. Junho might be gone, but others exist. People who test boundaries, who push limits, who see unprotected as weak. I'll handle it. I know you will. Something in his voice sounded almost proud. You've handled everything so far. They sat in silence. Not uncomfortable. just present. Two people awake at 3 a.m. for different reasons that somehow felt connected. Seojin? Yes. At the banquet, you said mercy exists even in violent worlds. Do you actually believe that? Another long pause. I want to. You make me want to. That's not the same as believing. No, but it's a start. He exhaled slowly. Before you, I operated on rules, power, control, consequences, simple equations where mercy was weakness and compassion was liability. Then you chose kindness when logic said run, and now what? Now I have to reconcile who I am with who I want to be when you're watching. Naima's throat tightened. Don't put that on me. Don't make me responsible for your morality. I'm not. I'm making myself responsible. His voice was firm. You're not changing me. You're revealing what was already there. What got buried under years of survival and violence. That's different. Is it? It has to be. He sounded tired. Really tired. Because if kindness only matters when it's witnessed, then it's performance, not principle. And I need it to be principle. For both our sakes. Naima lay back down, phone pressed to her ear. Outside, Chicago, hummed with late-night traffic. Inside, she felt something shifting. Not love, not trust, just recognition. Two people trying to navigate impossible situations with inadequate tools. What happens next? She asked quietly. Next, you walk to work alone tomorrow. Prove to yourself you still can. That protection isn't prison. He paused. And I prove I mean what I say. That boundaries matter. That your choices carry weight. And after that? After that, we figure it out. Day by day. Decision by decision. No scripts, no predetermined endings. Just two people trying to survive worlds that don't forgive weakness. Sounds exhausting. It is. A slight smile in his voice. But you're already doing it. Have been since the night you hid me behind sugar bags. This is just the next chapter. They talked until sunrise. About nothing important. About everything important. About childhood dreams and adult compromises. About fear and courage and the blurry line between. When morning came, Naima felt different. Not safer, not freer, just clearer. Like fog had lifted enough to see the path, even if the destination remained hidden. She walked to work alone that morning. No watchers, no shadows, just her and Chicago waking up together. It felt dangerous, liberating, terrifying, perfect. And when she arrived at the diner, she found a single white card on the counter. Not a message, not a warning, just coordinates, latitude and longitude. She looked them up. The location was a small park 3 blocks away. Quiet, public, safe. At noon, she walked there. Seojin sat on a bench feeding pigeons like he had nothing better to do. He saw her approach and stood. You came. You asked. I suggested. There's a difference. He gestured to the bench. Walk with me? They walked, not touching, not performing. Just two people navigating space together. Thank you, she said eventually, for pulling the guards. Thank you for trusting me enough to ask. He glanced at her. Did it feel different? Walking alone? Scary, free, both. She kicked a pebble. I kept looking over my shoulder, expecting shadows that weren't there. They're still there, just further back. He caught her look. I pulled close protection, not all protection. Emergency response stays active. If something happens, help arrives. But daily surveillance stopped. You're not being watched anymore. How do I know that's true? Because I'm telling you, and so far I've kept every promise. His eyes held hers. Have I lied to you yet? She thought about it. Really thought. No, you've been honest. Terrifyingly honest. Then trust that honesty now. They stopped walking, faced each other. I'm trying, Naima. To be better. To honor what you represent without suffocating it. To protect without controlling. It's not easy. I don't have models for this. But I'm trying. Naima looked at this man. This dangerous, complicated, impossible man, and saw something she didn't expect. Vulnerability. Real. Raw. Unguarded. "I see you trying," she said softly, "and I appreciate it. But appreciation isn't the same as acceptance." "I know," he nodded. "So where does that leave us?" "I don't know." Honest. True. Maybe nowhere. Maybe somewhere. I just need time to figure out what life looks like when protection feels like partnership instead of prison. "Take all the time you need." He started walking again. "I'll be here. Not watching. Not hovering. Just here. When you decide what here means." Two people stood at the crossroads between danger and dignity. One offering protection without possession. One demanding freedom without abandonment. But could safety and autonomy coexist when the protector's world was built on control? 6 weeks passed without incident. Naima walked to work alone. Served customers, paid bills, lived life in the ordinary way life insists on being lived even after extraordinary things happen. Seojin kept his distance. No calls, no visits, no mysterious cards or surveillance updates, just silence. The kind of silence that felt like respect instead of abandonment. She almost missed him. Almost, which was terrifying in its own way. Then one Tuesday morning, Marcus appeared at the diner. No flowers this time, no fake apologies, just fear etched so deep in his face it looked permanent. "Someone's asking about you," he said without preamble. Not Seojin's people, the different energy. Dangerous energy. Naima's stomach dropped. "Who?" "Didn't give names, just showed pictures of you. Asked if I knew where you worked, where you lived, your schedule." Marcus was shaking. I didn't tell them anything, but they weren't asking politely. "What did they look like?" "Korean, professional, smiling in ways that made my skin crawl." He backed toward the door. "I'm telling you because you've always been decent to me, even when I wasn't decent back. But I can't protect you, Naima, and I can't afford to die trying." Then he ran. Naima stood frozen behind the counter, heart hammering, breathing shallow, every instinct screaming danger. She pulled out her phone, stared at Seojin's number, the one she hadn't called in 6 weeks, the one she promised herself was only for emergencies. This qualified. She dialed. He answered on the first ring. Naima. Just her name. But the way he said it, careful, controlled, alert, told her he'd been waiting for this call. "Someone's looking for me, asking questions, showing pictures." "Where are you?" "The diner. Lock the doors. Back room. Now." Command mode activated. "I'm 10 minutes away." "Seojin, do it. Now." Questions later. She locked the doors, flipped the close sign, moved to the back room where sugar bags and flour sacks still sat stacked like the night this all started. 8 minutes later, SUVs surrounded the building. Seojin entered through the back door, flanked by 4 men. All armed, all professional. All moving with the kind of precision that meant this wasn't their first extraction. He saw her and something in his expression relaxed. Just slightly. "You're okay. For now. For longer than now." He pulled out his phone, made calls in rapid Korean. Listened. Nodded. Hung up. "It's Junho's people. He sent a crew from Seoul to test whether my protection was real or performance." "You said he was gone." "He is. Permanently." Seojin's voice went cold. "This is his last play. Revenge from beyond reach. He knew it would take weeks for his people to mobilize. Knew I might drop guard, knew you might relax." Fear turned her legs weak. "So what now?" "Now you choose." He met her eyes. "Option 1. I eliminate the threat. Quietly. Permanently. You never hear from them again. But you live knowing I killed for you. And option 2? You disappear. New city. New identity. New life. I fund it completely. No strings. No contact. You walk away clean. Those are my options? Violence or exile? Those are the options my world provides." His jaw tightened. "I wish I had better ones." But this is the price of visibility, the cost of connection, the consequence of kindness to dangerous men. Naima looked at him, at the man who'd kept his distance when she asked, who'd honored boundaries when pressing would have been easier, who was offering her violence or freedom and making sure she knew the weight of both choices. "What do you want me to choose?" she asked quietly. "I want you to choose life, whatever form that takes." His voice was gentle. "You saved mine once. Let me save yours now, however you'll accept it." She thought about running, starting over, becoming someone new in a city where Korean Mafia politics didn't reach. It sounded peaceful, safe, lonely. She thought about staying, accepting Seojin's protection completely, living in the world he inhabited with all its violence and consequences. It sounded dangerous, complicated, real. "Option 3, she said. "There is no option 3. Then we make one." She stepped closer. "I don't run, I don't disappear. I don't let danger dictate my life. But I also don't accept protection that requires you killing people in my name. That's not safety, that's ownership. Then what do you want?" "I want the truth, public truth. I want you to go to whoever's in charge, Minister Yoon, your bosses, whoever, and make it clear that I'm not your weakness. I'm not leverage, I'm not property or possession. I'm someone under your protection who carries no strategic value beyond basic human decency." Seojin studied her face. That might not work. "But it's honest," she held his gaze. "And if your world runs on power and perception, then let's change the perception. Make me worthless as leverage. Make protecting me about principle instead of strategy. Make mercy matter more than manipulation." He was quiet for a long moment. Then slowly he smiled. Actually smiled. "You continue to surprise me." "Is that a yes?" "It's a maybe." He pulled out his phone. "Let me make some calls. See if truth is powerful enough to outweigh tactics." He spent 20 minutes on the phone, speaking Korean, arguing, negotiating, building consensus from fragments of agreement. When he finished, he looked tired but satisfied. "Minister Yoon will make a statement. You're officially recognized as a private citizen under diplomatic courtesy protection. Not strategic asset, not leverage point, just someone who showed kindness and earned respect. Touching you becomes international incident, not because you matter to me strategically, because violating diplomatic courtesy matters to everyone. That works. It does now." He gestured to his men. "They're pulling back. Junho's people will get the message within hours. Crisis resolved without bloodshed." Naima felt something loosen in her chest. Not quite relief. Not quite peace. Just space to breathe. "Thank you. Thank you." He moved toward the door. "For choosing option 3. For making me find better answers. For proving mercy can be practical, instead of just idealistic. Seojin," he turned back, "this doesn't mean we're friends, or partners, or whatever people think we are. I know, but it doesn't mean we're nothing either." Something shifted in his expression. Hope, maybe, or recognition. "What does it mean?" "It means I'm choosing to exist in a complicated world with complicated people. And you're one of those people." She managed a small smile. "Don't make me regret it." "I'll do my best." He paused at the threshold. "For what it's worth, you've already changed things. Proved protection can exist without possession. That power can serve instead of control. That mercy matters even when it's inconvenient. That's a lot of weight for one person to carry. You're stronger than you think." He looked at her one last time. "The world needs more people who hide strangers behind sugar bags. Don't let it make you harder than necessary." Then he left. Naima stood alone in her diner. Same building, same counter, same life, but fundamentally different. Not because Seojin had changed her, but because she'd changed what protection could mean, what power could serve, what mercy looked like when practiced instead of just promised. Outside, Chicago continued its ordinary chaos. People walked past without knowing a small diner had just rewritten the rules of survival in a violent world. without knowing that kindness had proven more strategic than cruelty, without knowing that one woman's refusal to be owned had made mercy matter. Her phone buzzed. Seojin, one final message. Be safe, be stubborn, be you, she typed back. Always. Naima chose dignity over safety and forced the world to honor that choice. She proved that protection without possession was possible, that boundaries could be respected even by dangerous men, that mercy mattered more than leverage. But in a world built on power and consequences, how long could principle outweigh profit? How long until the next test arrived? And when it did, would Seojin's protection still hold when she refused to be property worth dying for? Subscribe now and turn on notifications, because this story isn't over. It's just beginning. The next chapter reveals what happens when diplomatic courtesy meets street-level threats, when mercy gets tested by people who don't respect international incidents, when Naima's choice to exist on her own terms faces challenges that paperwork can't solve. Drop a comment and tell us, would you choose dignity over guaranteed safety? Would you force dangerous men to respect boundaries instead of accepting comfortable cages? Share your thoughts and inspire others facing impossible choices. These stories matter because your voice matters. We'll see you in the next chapter, where protection becomes partnership and mercy proves whether it's principle or just performance.